Episode. The call that changed everything. It had been almost 8 months since my daughter Emma married her college sweetheart, Daniel Ashcroft. I was beginning to think the dust had finally settled after all the chaos of the wedding. Until one rainy Tuesday evening, my phone rang, and everything I thought I knew about that day, and about my daughter's marriage, began to unravel. "Mrs. Carter," the voice on the other end said, low and urgent. "It's Michael Reeves. I'm the photographer from Emma's wedding. I need you to come to my studio tonight, alone. Please don't tell your daughter or son-in-law. It's important." Michael Reeves. The name sent a ripple of unease down my spine. I remembered him clearly. Tall, quiet, with an artist's intensity and a camera that never stopped clicking. His portfolio had been breathtaking, the reason Emma had insisted on hiring him despite his high fees. "What's this about?" I asked, gripping the phone tighter. He hesitated. "I found something in the photos. Something you need to see for yourself." By the time I hung up, my heart was pounding so loudly I could hear it echo in my ears. I didn't tell Emma or anyone else. Instead, I put on my coat, grabbed my car keys, and drove through the downpour toward Michael's downtown studio, an old brick building with a flickering sign that read, Reeves Visual Arts. When I arrived, it was nearly deserted. Inside, the smell of chemicals and rainwater filled the air. Michael looked pale, sleep-deprived, and far too serious for this to be anything ordinary. "Mrs. Carter," he said, standing up as I entered. "Thank you for coming. What did you find?" He motioned toward a table covered in photographs, memory cards, and printouts. When I was preparing images for my portfolio, I noticed something that didn't make sense. Then I looked closer, and it's bad. He picked up a single glossy print and handed it to me. It was from the reception, during the mother-daughter dance. The ballroom lights glowed soft gold, the guests smiling and clapping. But in the corner, half hidden behind a floral arch, Emma wasn't dancing with me anymore. She was talking to a man in a dark gray suit. "Too close, too familiar." "That's not Daniel," I whispered. Michael nodded grimly. "His name is Ethan Blackwood. He signed the guest book as Daniel's cousin. But he's not family. He's Emma's business partner, secretly." "Business partner?" I repeated, stunned. "Emma doesn't have a business. She's a teacher." "That's what everyone thinks," Michael said quietly, sliding a folder toward me. Inside were printed documents from the Delaware Business Registry, EB Consulting Group. LLC listed owners, Ethan Blackwood and Emma Carter Ashcroft. The company had been registered 18 months before the wedding, right around the time Emma and Daniel started dating. My throat went dry. "What does this business do?" "That's the problem," Michael said. "It claims to manage charitable donations for senior citizens' housing programs. But I found evidence it's funneling money elsewhere. Offshore accounts, shell corporations." My accountant friend looked into it. He says it's a classic money laundering setup. I stared at the photo again, my daughter's face frozen in that smile that suddenly looked nothing like joy. "You think Emma's involved in something illegal?" Michael hesitated. "Mrs. Carter, I think Emma and Ethan were running a charity fraud ring. And I think your son-in-law has no idea." Episode. The hidden accounts. By the next morning, I could barely eat. Every instinct in me screamed that this had to be a mistake. Emma had always been the responsible one, the straight-A student, the volunteer, the girl who stayed up late grading papers and organizing fundraisers. But Michael was right about one thing. Something didn't add up. When I looked through Emma's social media accounts, there were photos of her and Daniel smiling at charity events, dinners for elderly housing programs, fundraisers for medical research. In nearly every picture, Ethan was there too. Always in the background, always close by. I called Michael. "If you're right, we need more than suspicion. We need proof," he sighed. "I've been working with someone who might help. Detective Laura Mitchell. She's been investigating charity fraud cases in the Dallas area for over a year. Emma and Ethan's company fits a pattern. That evening, we met Detective Mitchell at a small diner near the station. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, with the calm authority of someone used to uncovering ugly truths. "Mrs. Carter," she said, shaking my hand. I understand this is difficult, but I'm afraid what Mr. Reeves found aligns with an ongoing case. EB Consulting has been flagged for suspicious transfers linked to multiple shell organizations. How much money are we talking about? I asked. Mitchell opened a folder. Over $7 million in the last 2 years. Most of it from senior citizens who believed they were donating to housing projects or medical charities. Once the money hit EB Consulting's account, it was redirected to offshore banks and gone. My stomach turned. Are you saying my daughter stole from the elderly? Detective Mitchell looked at me with compassion. It's possible she's being used, manipulated by Blackwood, but we can't rule out her involvement. That's why we need your help. Episode: The Deception. Unraveled over the next week, I quietly gathered information. Old tax forms, emails, even Emma's wedding guest list. What I found chilled me. Nearly a dozen of Daniel's elderly relatives had attended. Retired engineers, widowed aunts, old family friends. And within 2 months of the wedding, 6 of them had donated large sums to EB Consulting. Michael brought more evidence. Look at these, he said, spreading out photos across his table. Emma and Ethan didn't just disappear from the reception once. They met privately 3 times that night. Once behind the ballroom, once near the catering truck, and once outside by the valet station. The timestamps showed her slipping away while Daniel gave his speech, and just like before Ethan left minutes later. What were they doing? I whispered. Michael's jaw tightened. Meeting with someone named Howard Keene, an 80-year-old investor who died 3 months after the wedding. His entire estate, $480,000, was transferred to EB Consulting. God. Mrs. Carter, Michael said gently. I think your daughter's wedding was used as a recruiting event. They invited wealthy elderly guests, gained their trust, and convinced them to invest in fake charities. I pressed my hands to my face, trembling. She couldn't have done that. She's my daughter. But deep down, I remembered little things. How Emma had insisted on handling all the wedding finances herself. How she'd discouraged me from paying the caterer directly, saying she'd get a better deal through her contacts. It wasn't a wedding. It was a setup episode. The trap detective Mitchell decided to act. We need a controlled meeting, she said. We'll give Emma a chance to pitch her scheme again, but this time, we'll record everything. We didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, I got a text from Emma. Mom, I'm so glad you mentioned your pension the other day. I actually have an opportunity that could really help you grow it safely. Can we meet tomorrow afternoon? I replied yes, at 2 p.m. I met her at a sleek downtown office with a shiny new sign, EB Consulting Group. The office smelled of expensive perfume and printer ink. Temporary, polished, fake. Emma hugged me like nothing was wrong. Mom, you look great. You too, sweetheart, I said, my voice steady only because of Detective Mitchell's earpiece in my bag. Emma began her presentation. Graphs, charts, promises of guaranteed returns through community investment funds. It was almost flawless, until I started asking questions. Sweetheart, I said casually, does Daniel know about this business? About Ethan? She froze for a split second. He knows I do consulting work. He just doesn't understand the details. So you're business partners with Ethan? Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes did. Yes, but it's all professional, Mom. He handles the international accounts. And the elderly investors, do they know where their money really goes? That's when her voice sharpened. Mom, I don't appreciate what you're implying. You're stealing from them, Emma. Her face drained of color. Who told you that? Before she could move, the office door burst open. Detective Mitchell entered, badge raised. Emma Carter Ashcroft, you are under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to defraud senior citizens. Ethan Blackwood was arrested the same day at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, attempting to board a flight to Dubai with $300,000 in cash. Episode: The fallout Emma refused to speak for 3 days. When she finally did, her story came out piece by piece. She'd met Ethan during a charity fundraiser for education grants. He'd seduced her with dreams of wealth and philanthropy, convincing her to front his operation, to make it look respectable. But greed had taken over. By the time she realized how deep she was in, she was trapped. Ethan had threatened to expose her, to destroy her marriage if she tried to leave. Daniel filed for divorce 2 months later. He'd lost $80,000, his entire savings, to Emma's charity contributions. Detective Mitchell's investigation uncovered a network spanning 5 states and over 40 victims. The total losses exceeded $25 million episode, Redemption. A year later, I visited Emma in the women's correctional facility outside Houston. She looked thinner, older, but when she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I thought I could help people. Then I thought I could fix it. And then I couldn't stop." I held her hand through the glass. "You can start over. Tell the truth. Help the police catch the rest of them." She nodded. "And show